Welcome back to Real Takes, where we are all movie love all the time. I'm Ann Stott, and tonight we are continuing our new tradition of highlighting an organization that I believe in each week. Obviously, it's been a really painful week in our country again. We've had 2 mass shootings just in this last week. We've had almost 200 mass shootings so far this year. That's well over one a day since the year started. But the shooting in Buffalo is obviously particularly disturbing because of the white supremacist, racist motivations of the shooter. And today I want to highlight an organization called National Bailout. Okay, I completely bungled describing this organization, National Bailout, which actually started as Mama's Bailout a bunch of years ago. So right now in our country, Black people are 3 times more likely to be killed by police officers than white people are, and routinely, white offenders, like the shooter in Buffalo, are able to be apprehended and brought into custody without being killed, while Black people who literally haven't committed a crime get killed by the police on a regular basis. Another area of injustice is that Black people are getting arrested at a much higher rate for all kinds of misdemeanors and nonviolent offenses than white people are. And often they end up sitting in jail until they go to trial because they can't afford the bail money to get them out of jail between when they were arrested and when the trial happens. And Mama's Bailout started to raise money in particular for Black mothers who were sitting in jail for low-level offenses because they couldn't afford the bail, sometimes $200, sometimes $300, and they were, separated from their children. Their children needed care. It was creating all kinds of other problems, massive ripple effects in their lives. So originally Mama's Bailout, now National Bailout, raises money to help people make bail so that they can attend to their lives and get the support they need, while awaiting trial. So I will link to National Bailout in the description. Please support them. And of course, my heart and thoughts are with the people of Buffalo and the family and friends of the victims in the Buffalo shooting. Okay, so tonight we are talking about a movie that I love deeply called The Lives of Others. And it came out in 2006. It's a German film, and it was written and directed by, I want to make sure I get this right. It was written and directed by Florian Henckel von Donnarsmarck. And it stars Ulrich Muhe, Martina, Gedek, and Sebastian Koch. I want to give a little more context to the setup that I give here. So the film is set in East Germany in 1984. For people who don't know or are fuzzy, East Germany used to be divided into East Germany and West Germany until the Berlin Wall fell in 1989 and was then reunified. And East Germany was part of the Eastern European bloc of countries and Russia that was referred to as being behind the Iron Curtain. And all of these countries were dictatorships. They were repressive, and there was an incredible amount of government surveillance of the everyday activities of the citizens. So everything you did was monitored, and also people were recruited to spy on each other and report to the government about their activities. I think in Russia you couldn't have gatherings or parties because they knew that at gatherings and parties, people might have ideas. And by the way, this is the system of governing that Putin rose out of, and a lot of the repressive, media tactics and, government tactics that he's employed come straight from that playbook. Okay, so we're in East Germany in 1984, and our main character is a Stasi agent who's a true believer in socialism. I have nothing against certain kinds of socialism, just saying, and his government and the work he does to preserve it. And he begins surveilling, spying on a couple who are artists, a playwright and an actress, who are also true believers in socialism and very successful artists. But through his exposure to their world, he starts changing. We are at the end of Taurus season. This is our last Taurus show until next year, I guess. And I just want to say this is a Taurus movie. So Florian Henckel von Donnarsmarck is a Taurus. And this movie is so sensual and beautiful. I know Taurus is the bull and people think stubborn and bull in a china shop, but there's a reason the bull went in the china shop in the first place. There's a love of sensuality and beauty and creativity and a desire to dig down deep into things. And this film does all of that, starting with the inspiration point of this movie. So Florian Henckel von Donnersmarck in the late 90s was thinking one day about a quote from Lenin, which said, I'm going to read it to you. I know of nothing better than the Appassionata, which is a piano sonata by Beethoven, and could listen to it every day. What astonishing superhuman music. But I can't listen to music very often. It affects my nerves. I want to say sweet, silly things and pat the little heads of people who are living in a filthy hell who can create such beauty. These days, one can't pat anyone on the head. They might bite your hand off. Hence, you have to beat people's little heads, beat mercilessly, although ideally, we are against doing any violence to people. So that's a quote from Lenin about how he couldn't listen to these beautiful works of music that he loved so much because he knew he wouldn't be able to be cruel anymore to people if he listened to it too much. And so Florian Henckel von Donnersmarck in the late 90s, he says, was lying on his living room floor thinking about this quote, and he had a vision of a Stasi officer listening to Beethoven's Appassionata. And that was the spark for this movie, The Lives of Others, which is a movie about the power of creativity and passion and love set within a police spy thriller. Now, von Donnersmarck then spent a year and a half researching the East German government and the Stasi and how they operated and, you know, the systems of surveillance and the repression of the people and all of that. And then after he'd researched all of that for a year and a half, he spent a year and a half writing the script. He went through 5 drafts. I'm just giving you a sense of like how much dedication to detail and craft went into making this movie. And then when he had a draft that he liked, he spent several years assembling his team, and he had really specific desires for who he wanted to work with, which were ambitious because he had never made a full-length feature film. He had only made short films. So ultimately, he got 3 of the biggest German stars to star in this movie: Ulrich Muhe, Martina Gedek, and Sebastian Koch, as well as some very well-known theater and film stars to be in supporting roles. And he even got some known actors to do sort of featured non-speaking roles or roles with only 1 or 2 lines. And he just went to these people and he said, look, I know this is beneath you. I know you're more famous than this, but these moments are really important in the film, and I need really seasoned actors to, you know, hold the space of these parts, even though there aren't a lot of lines, and will you please do this? And they did. But getting back to the 3 stars, so Ulrich Muhe grew up in East Germany, actually, which von Donnersmarck had not. He grew up in West Germany. Ulrich Muhe grew up in East Germany, and he was one of the biggest stars of the East German theater. And when he read the script for The Lives of Others, he liked the script a lot, but he basically interviewed von Donnersmarck twice for an hour and a half each time, because von Donnersmarck had never made a full-length feature film. And at this point, Ulrich Muhe was actually a movie star as well. He'd worked with Michael Haneke and other known directors, and so he really wanted to know and trust that von Donnersmarck knew how to make this film before he signed on. And he really grilled him about the Stasi and the history. And in fact, Ulrich Muhe, the actor, had been under surveillance for years by the Stasi himself before the fall of the Berlin Wall. And he showed von Donnersmarck his files and talked about his experience. And ultimately, he agreed to do it after this moment. Ulrich Muhe, the actor, said to von Donnersmarck, my character is going to spend a lot of time sitting in an attic with headphones on listening to people. How do you think I should act this? And von Donnersmarck said, I don't think you acted at all. And Ulrich Muhe said, okay, I'll do the movie. So that was the moment. But it was a very big kind of healing, coming to terms with his own past, because he had been under surveillance for years and years and years by the Eastern German government. And now he was playing the Stasi officer. And von Donnersmarck has said that the film actually attracted a lot of East German actors. He didn't specifically go looking for them, but it just kind of naturally shook out that a lot of the actors in the film had been East German before the reunification of Germany. And in fact, one of the more sort of despicable characters was East German and had been under surveillance himself. And when von Donnersmarck would direct him, he'd be like, you don't need to tell me anything. I know this person perfectly. I know exactly what to do. But Martina Gedek, who plays the actress in the film, von Donnersmarck says she's the Meryl Streep of Germany. And then Sebastian Koch had a big TV career. So they were all stars. It was a huge coup for him to get these actors, but they were so moved by the power of the script that they all agreed to do the movie for about 20% of what they usually make, because the film was made solely with grants. The budget was $1.6 million, which when you have 3 stars in it is not very much money at all. And a huge way that they did that was these actors taking big pay cuts. So that was their level of commitment to the project. And they all do such beautiful, moving, devastating work. And when I first saw this movie in the theater, I saw it in a movie theater when it came out, I realized about halfway through the movie that I was so riveted that I was like suspended in time. That's how I felt the first time I saw the movie. Like I realized I hadn't moved. I had popcorn in my lap that I hadn't eaten. I felt like I hadn't even taken a breath for half the movie. Obviously that's not true. I would have passed out. But I was so riveted and engrossed by the film that I had like shut off any unnecessary functioning. I was completely inside the world of the film. And it was fascinating to me because researching for this show, I saw an interview with von Donnersmarck where he said that he wanted the film to be a total right brain experience. He really feels that film should like go directly into people's kind of sensory emotional experience, and then they should think about it later, which is a pretty remarkable thing to say from a man who decided to make a film about a repressive government and the power of creativity to impact people. I mean, he's making a film about the power of creativity, so from that standpoint, he wants to directly reach people. But that's a pretty heady premise to then try to work into a cinematic framework where we are completely engrossed on a feeling intuitive level, and we only intellectually engage afterward. But I feel like he did that because I had a very powerful experience when I saw the movie, and then I do think about it a lot after I watch it, and I've now seen it maybe 4 or 5 times, and nothing about it fades or it only gets stronger with each viewing. So it also pegs me as a hopeless romantic, this movie, which I've talked about before. I talked about it when I talked about the Petrified Forest. And I mean, I'm a hopeless romantic for like a really solid portrayal of love, but I'm also actually a hopeless romantic about the arts. Like, I deeply believe in the power of music, theater, art, literature to change the world. Like, I have that sort of pure, innocent, childlike belief. And there's nothing innocent about this movie. Everybody in this movie is getting pushed and pulled by a lot of malevolent forces, but that core belief of how the arts can affect us is in the fabric of the film in a beautiful, powerful way, which is why I love it so much. And, you know, getting back to the Taurus thing and von Donnarsmarck being a Taurus, in the audio commentary for the DVD, highly recommend the DVD with the audio commentary. Then you can watch it whenever you want. You don't have to pay to rent it or wonder which service it'll be on. He talks about film, like filmmaking as about revealing layers, which is so beautiful and again so true to like the Taurus energy. And he talks about the opening sequence, which is the movie starts with someone being interrogated. That's the word I was looking for. Interrogated about someone escaping the country. And we think we're in an interrogation, and then we realize the interrogation's being recorded, and then we realize the recording's being used to teach people. Like, these layers and layers and layers of truth are being revealed. And I feel like the film just keeps revealing and revealing and revealing and going deeper and deeper into the layers of how soul-crushing this repressive government was and how powerful the arts can be. So I'm a huge fan of The Lives of Others. If you haven't seen it, please see it. If you have seen it, tell me what you think about it in the comments. Oh, and a big plug. There's a big plug. Some of you probably know that I am a singer-songwriter, and I am releasing a new song, Sapiosexual, about being turned on by intelligent people, which this movie proves completely, on Friday. So extra likes would be great, and if you could subscribe to the channel, that would be fantastic. It helps we indie artists a great deal. And please let me know what you think of the movie, and I will see you next Wednesday. Right, Meatball? Tell them you'll see them next Wednesday. Yeah, you want to say? Meatball will see you next Wednesday. Yes, right? with your tuxedo? With your handsome tuxedo? Okay. Let's get up. Thanks for watching Real Takes. Hit the subscribe button below so the algorithms will tell you when new episodes are out. And if you want to support Real Takes, please visit my Patreon page where you can join at any tier from $2 to $100 per thing I make. The $15 tier is specifically about supporting Real Takes, and you'll get behind the scenes information and be thanked in future videos. See you next Wednesday.